and Breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We have another great episode for you, and I'm excited because I'm actually just discovering this artist, with everybody. If you haven't heard of this artist right now, I'm excited, and I just got to see them perform not too long ago, and it was sick. The music that I've listened to is sick, but today we have Zeke Forever. What's going on?
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you for having me. This is
absolutely
sick as shit. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. Because okay.
Getting that right out of the way. Yeah.
Yes.
And my response should have been fuck yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited. This is really cool. I love podcasts, so I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming by. I'm excited because you're actually an artist that I had not heard anything of yet. So
that's a good thing.
That coming out and reaching out and I'm being like, how is this something that good that I haven't come across? But I mean, that's the beauty of this space and area that there's so much left to discover. And I think you were for me one of those hidden gems right now that I've now discovered, and it's been awesome.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm here to kind of hear about how did it get started? You how long have you been doing music?
Oh, since forever, babes.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube and look up Zeke Forever, you'll find this terrible video. Well, there's a couple of terrible videos. But I was making music with YouTube beats in ninth grade.
Wow.
So
okay.
I was recording and making music for a really long time. I think that's what helped me do what I am able to do now, because I've literally been doing it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I do know how to do.
So I did read over a little bit of the press release and stuff, but you kind of grew up in a musical family.
Yeah.
So and you were around music a while. Your first experiences in music, from what I gather, was gospel music, and how would
So my dad's a pastor.
Okay.
My mom is a second generation first lady. So and just pastor's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was really into choir. Our grandmother was a choir director, and so they have records the Faith Temple Choir.
Really? Okay.
And so my mom has been songwriting ever since I was born. For Christmas, we didn't sing normal Christmas songs. We made our own, and it's it was sick. So I've learned music through my family and just being around that. Yeah.
So music was pretty much around.
That was all I could do. That was that was the only fun thing that I was just I didn't like sports. I didn't like anything. I just wanted to sing.
You wanted to sing
all the time.
And then what I saw is that you were started when you were doing your first recordings, you were using the Wii microphone,
yes.
the Rock Band one.
So we got for Christmas maybe.
Yeah.
My dad got us the High School Musical 2 game for the Wii, and we had this old desktop, and we were playing it for a little bit, and then I would unplug it, and I was I wonder if I could just put it in here, and I was. So I would just, and this is so funny. I started with Windows Movie Maker.
Okay.
And I would just record voice notes over voice notes.
Okay.
So I would start with me beatboxing, and then singing over the beatboxing, and then doing harmonies, and then that kind of stuff. So that's how I started, and then I didn't stop using the Wii mic until 2019.
Oh my god!
Because I just didn't know. I don't know if this is kind of weird, but when you're not taught anything in school, no one really teaches you oh, this is how you could really get started.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that I didn't have to pay to go to studios, and I could just make music in my room. Mm-hmm. So I thought I found a cheat code. So I was
okay.
So I did it for a while until my friend Malik actually was here. Use some music equipment and don't use a Wii mic. But I used it up until I think the first song that I ever released under Zeke Forever is called Golden, and that song was recorded with a Wii mic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it kind of, if again, you're right, no one tells you how to pretty much get this done. You kind of have to learn through either if you know people making their own music and stuff like that. But when I was growing up, same thing. I was you have to, in order to make a song, you have to book studio time. You have to go somewhere. doing it at home seemed so far-fetched. Like, it seemed like crazy. And then the people that were doing it at home, I'm like, they have a lot of money because everything seems so super expensive to get your whole setup done. And then, honestly, I think one of the first real experiences that I saw somebody create something and didn't need that was I remember hearing from was it Owl City, who did like the Firefly songs or whatever? He created all that in GarageBand. Yeah, so he created that on the Mac and GarageBand. Yeah,
I did not know that.
And I was just like, what do you mean? And I remember it's like when Mac was getting popular for creatives and stuff like that. And I'm like, that song's everywhere. And I'm like, and that, you know, that's an actual album. Like, I was working at Best Buy at the time, so I'm like the album's here, and like, and he made it on like this thing. I'm like, that's when I get grasped. I was like, how do you do that? And then just started looking into, and there's like I said, as the years have gone by, it's become crazy like affordable to do that, and very simple to get your own setup to do. Like, you don't need all these super
you can literally get a crappy mic and then just use a free plugin. There's like this mic mod plugin that I've used, and I don't know if it was like torrented or but
we're here to bust you. This is what it is.
But yeah, and it just makes it sound like another mic. Like, it's crazy what technology does now.
Well, there's so many free the plugins and stuff like that. There's a lot of free stuff that you can just get to, like that you don't have to go name brand or whatever. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can kind of get away with, and there's also like a free education on it through the fucking internet. YouTube University is fucking it's amazing.
Teacher.
I don't know how many times I've had an issue on something, audio or video, and I'm like, let me look it up, and like my exact issue, there's a whole like step by step like few videos that I can go to and reference, and I'm like, this is like, the internet has its ups and downs, but this is one of the greatest parts of it, is that you can, there's nothing that in this day and age, there shouldn't be anything really keeping you from learning, at least to get something done, like anything, you know. And especially in this like type of industry, the music industry, like, there's a lot of stuff that will benefit you more if you yourself know how to do it. You know, creatively, especially.
I also feel like, I'm such a nerd, but I feel like the music scene is so beautiful now because you're able to literally just be like, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone, I just want to be in my house and make something. And I think like there's no like, when everyone is like, oh, like, how do you make music or how do you record? Girl, use your iPhone. You could literally, like, Steve Lacy used his iPhone for like one of his albums, and it's like in a museum now, like the iPod. It's in the museum. Like, it's crazy. So technology is fun.
Technology is really, for music, has been so like revolutionary. Again, in that moment where now so much of the control can be given to the actual artist. Like, if you want to learn how to do it, you can. And in my experiences, the people that I've talked to, and just like bands that I know in general, or like musicians, you get a clearer picture, or you can translate a clearer message, like with what vision you have in your head, if you know how to create it yourself. Because it's kind of hard, like when you work with a producer or something like that, or someone that, like, if you haven't had experience with them, how to communicate like what you want to get done to them. It's a little bit easier if you at least know some basic knowledge, so you're able to like tell them like, this is what I want this to sound like, or this is what I'm trying to go for something. You just have a clearer way to explain yourself, or you can do it yourself. You know, there's a lot of like people just creating some awesome like songs and music like on their own, like you're saying, in your room. They're just like, hey, today I'm gonna write something, and you can write it and you can put it out as quick as you create it. It's so awesome.
It's so easy. And you know what's crazy is the reason why I felt like I had to do it by myself, I think, is because I'm a creative control freak. And so like, it's easier for me to be like, oh, let me just like YouTube it, versus being like, oh, and maybe this is terrible, I don't know. But like, I am very much just like, I can do it, like I'll figure it out myself, just so I know. But yeah, YouTube is the best teacher.
I think there's a balance to like everything, but that having that drive to let me figure it out myself first, like, if you can do it, then why not learn how to do it? You know what I mean? And then there's instances where like you will need to reach out for help. So not being limited to like trying to do everything yourself and getting frustrated when you can't, you know, and being able to know like when to reach out. But I think having the initiative of if your first instinct is like, let me see how I can get this done myself, like I think that's a good instinct because it just inspires your learning for it, and you actually like figured out how to do it to the best of your ability.
It also makes it fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Real fun.
For me personally, yeah, I try to like if I figure something out for me, I don't know. I just get that gratification. I was like, oh fuck, I figured this out.
Yeah,
and it turned out like pretty good. You know what I mean? And I got to do what I wanted to do without having to go through anybody else or even like wait on anybody else to like, how do you do this? Or
that's also a big one for me.
Yeah,
I hate waiting. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, hey, like you want to like collaborate, and then like we'll talk about it, and then like sometimes schedules are just like not working because like we're all adults, and I'll just be like, all right, cool, great, I'm gonna finish this.
We're moving on. We're moving on.
Because I'm also like, so my mind, I can be concentrated, but it needs to be like, if for me, like even when I'm finishing a song, if the idea isn't there completely within like, because it takes me a while to like make a song, so maybe like a month, then I'm just like, okay, like, this is just me for me, not to be like out to the world and like we'll just go on to something new and see what else we can do. Yeah.
How do you tackle your songwriting then? Like, do you have like a typical process for that?
I don't.
Okay.
So, like I make the beats, I produce everything. So like for me, it's easy for like sometimes it's the beat first and then I just like have like a cute little melody, or sometimes I write, like I journal, and then I'll highlight the things that I'm like, oh, this is what I really want to talk about, or this. Honestly, I have like, it's really random, to be quite honest. It's actually maybe like, I feel like if you were to see me while I was writing, you'd be like, oh, this man is manic. Because I really just be like all over the place. I'll be dancing one second, then I'm just like deep in the computer trying to figure out I love glitching stuff lately. So like glitching in the right spot. It's very weird sometimes.
Okay, so what all like involvement is Zeke Forever like completely like
Zeke Forever, Uptown Bitch, it's Zeke.
Yeah.
I produce. As of right now, I'm taking my pictures, but that's just because I'm a broke bitch. But also like my best friend Lauren, she helps me visually as well. But production, remixes, I do. I'm Keenan. My real name is Keenan.
Is that
so? Like all of the remixes that you see, I love remixes.
I was gonna talk about that, like, because I know
fucking love
Open remixes. And like has the it's Keenan Lounge mix or whatever, and I'm like, I remember like listening to those back to back, and I really like the Lounge because it's long. I mean, it's longer and it's got like more of that like vibe. I'm like, that's cool. But I was wondering, I literally was gonna bring up, I'm like, so who's Keenan like that does this? Because I saw like that's so fucking cool.
How my parents were kind of strict when I was younger, so I wasn't really able to listen to like worldly music. So I would listen to like remixes of like gospel songs.
Okay.
And like I just found so much like fun in that. And so I've always just been obsessed with it. But finding people to like remix your songs is like weird. Like it's very sporadic, and also like for me, creating remixes give me like a break. So sometimes like Open, I made those remixes before the song was even done. Really? But it helps me mix the original song, but I get to reimagine it some other place. So like for a lot of like the singles that I have, if I get really like, I get ear fatigue real easily. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, let me take the acapella. I can still listen to this, but make something else. And so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I want to do. And that kind of helps me like mix an original song, and is making remixes.
Even flesh out like the, I guess, complete idea for what you want the actual single to be. Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah. So you do. I mean, because that was another thing. Like, because I know the newer stuff, like which Open is part of, which is like that this like new era type of music. Because I got a chance to listen to the sampler, which was also really cool. Has like definitely a different approach to like the song and production wise, but I felt like some of that was in your starting to come out in your previous project. In a few songs, like I'm forgetting the name of the song right now from the previous project from this one, but I felt like some of the production was kind of gearing towards what you are now creating with like this new era of it. What's inspiring like this change for you?
Okay. Communication, I feel like, which is the last project, I felt like I was coming into myself, but I still felt like I had to prove something to other people. I don't know if that makes sense, but that album, I was really sad, and I just wanted to like get a lot of things off my chest. But for some reason, for me, it was just like I wanted to like sugarcoat everything, because I felt like, even though like I do very much still believe in like community, and like that's what kind of communication was all about, I think I was still trying to be like look, I'm still the same, you know, like I'm no different. And with Overstimulation, I just felt like, or well, that's the name of the album. Yikes, babes. So the album that I'm working on is Overstimulation, and it basically, I had been working on it from communication. And then I did a Halloween show, which is like a Valentine's Halloween show where like the bands performed as different people. And I performed as Lady Gaga, because that's like my queen. Shout out. Oh, so happy birthday, The Fame. It's 15 years. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, don't you feel old?
That's
okay,
crazy.
Here, let me tell you something else.
We're going on a tangent.
The Cheetah Girls is 20 years old. Like, just turned 20. Does that not make you feel old?
Oh my God.
That's I remember
so
when that shit
crazy.
came out. That's so
Oh my
crazy.
God. Yeah, damn.
But I performed with Lady Gaga. It was so cool. And the reason why it was so cool is because I would have done that in my shower. And the fact that I got to connect with so many other people that felt like, even if you didn't like Lady Gaga, the energy was just there. It was a great show. I got to do like an outfit change, which I love doing as a performer. And it was the beginning of being like, okay, like I can just be weird and be myself, and like, because I felt like that was just me. That was just like how I would be at my house. Yeah. And so that kind of made me more like, I don't know how to say it, like open to the fact that like I'm just gonna be me, and whoever likes it, whoever doesn't. I don't really care. Gotcha. But also I'm not going to limit myself anymore. So writing this project, and like even just like the way that I've been dressing lately, it's just like this has always been me. But now, like, instead of hiding when I'm overstimulated, I'm just going to just like give it all I got, because I don't know, like I feel like I just deserve to be open. I deserve to find my community, and like also this is what I want, so there's no point of hiding in it, I guess. I know that I don't know if that made sense.
So that show is basically the first time that you were able to fully feel like you could be yourself and have an actual positive response to it, rather than kind of like, and even though it wasn't my music, it was like the energy just felt cool. I looked sexy. Actually, the album cover was taken the same day. Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And it's like the same, like this is this, well, no, I don't think, no, this is the suit. This is the suit. And like, that was just an important time for me, because even when I was making music, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to do what I like, and like, hopefully like people will respond to that. Even if no one responds to that, I feel like I've expressed myself fully with this like new era. Yeah.
And, well, I mean, the thing with music and art in general is you want to enjoy making it. And it feels like you've been building up to just releasing a little bit and a little bit more of yourself in each like project that you're working on. And with that experience, now you're like, well, I can just, why would I not want to just like fully do this with my art? Like, you know, you felt so great, like performing songs, you know, like, you know, from an artist that you respect, that you've like come to admire, that you feel like, I mean, Lady Gaga's been weird forever. And you're like, oh, that's like they're getting, you know, they can do it, you know, but sometimes we see it like on the outside and like, well, they can do it, but you know, I don't think that I can.
And I think that's how I was, only because, this is like kind of like my backstory, but not really. As a kid, being a like queer person in a super religious atmosphere is really tough. And like, it wasn't necessarily like my family, but also like the surroundings. Yeah. It was like there was always something to be said about the way that I was dressed, or the way that I acted, or I was too feminine or flamboyant. And for a long time, even in this, it's actually really long. It's giving trauma, babes. Oh no. But even until about like 25, I always felt like I could be myself and I could have integrity. But also there was always this thing of like, oh, well, like, what will people say? And I started letting go of that. Okay. Because, like, who cares? I mean, who cares?
Because you realize that you're holding on to pieces of yourself from letting them be fully expressed for people that like aren't have nothing to do with like your happiness. Like they're not going to be there for you to make sure that you're okay, that you're like as happy as you possibly can. As they're just worried about, do you fit into the mold that I like am used to? And
I also think that they like, and it's a tough one because I feel like it's not out of just like maliciousness. Yeah. I don't think that everyone is just out to get you, but also worrying about them only gives you less space to put the people that actually respect what you do, that like won't look at you like twice for just being you and expressing yourself fully. It's just all about community and finding the right community. Yeah. And I think that in this era in my life, like I'm finding peace with myself. I'm weird as hell and I like that shit. But I'm finding peace with myself, and also like I don't want to be around people that don't want me to have that. Yeah. And so
the right people that should be in your space, in your own communities and circles, should be people that accept you, and not only accept you, it just like love the person who you are. You're the actual person you are. You know, not just the face that you put on or whatever like you're doing to be accepted into. Like, no, if you get to act fully who you are and yourself, and then you have a community that builds around that, then those people are the people that should be there, because there's nothing you're pretending to be. You're just being unapologetically yourself, and there's communities for fucking everything.
For everyone.
But it comes with a fear. Like you're always afraid of, what if the people that I have now will leave? Like, well, then the right people are going to step in, if someone leaves or anything like that.
I think that my issue, though, was that I always felt like, what if people were right? And I think that that's what kind of, like, mind, like, games, right? Like, you're just like, oh, dang, what if I'm, like, wrong? And I felt like I naturally felt that, and I don't think it was actually said. Yeah, like it's just always by actions. And so
what do you mean by like what if they were right?
It's giving therapy. Come on. I'm sorry. No, you're fine. So
when you said
a thing that I used to like really feel was like I always stepped on eggshells when I felt like I was just being me. Like my instincts, I did not trust them. And that is something that I've had to learn, is that everything that I am doing, not everything that I'm doing, because that's like, but like I am on the right path. Yeah. And sometimes when you don't trust your intuition, you'll fight that the whole time. And so I've learned to not fight it, or learning, because sometimes I do fight it. Sometimes I'm my biggest enemy, baby. But like my mission and my goal for this next era is, even when I do feel like there's so many things going on, that I can trust that everything will be okay. Yeah. And that's kind of I don't know, corny.
I was about to say, no, I'm just kidding. No, that it makes sense. Like it is not your first instinct, like you're saying, like to trust your intuition, because you've, even growing up, again, even without the malicious intent from like your community or the people that are around you, you still like, because maybe someone's floating around like, oh, that's not exactly the right like thing to be, or like, again, like you're a little too flamboyant or stuff like that. They're saying you internalize that stuff, so that if your instinct is to be that, you learn to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't think like that. Maybe I shouldn't do that, because you don't even know why you're not trusting yourself to do that and holding back. Like it becomes like a second nature to do it, and then you don't realize how long that you're struggling with it until you let go.
Burst, babe.
Yeah.
Until you burst.
But no, I think that's a really cool way to approach your art in that way. Taking the actual like personal journey and then translating that to like what you're already doing, which is music, what you love doing, which I think for me, like once you make stuff personal and genuine to yourself, it's just like I'm an automatic fan already. And then and because it's just such a cool thing to see when you see it reflected. And and honestly, like if we just go like into the actual music itself, like I don't know why like that style of music has been like just coming at me like from all like angles, and I just I've been really liking just the production style that you use, and the like the instrumentals behind it are really good, and like the way the like choruses and stuff are like structured are really just like catchy like dance like songs, and it's cool. And I like seeing you perform. I just saw you perform at Harvest House like not too long ago.
Love Harvest House.
Yeah.
Love Curl. Love TJ Novak. Seafoam and Bass for Your Face. I gotta do my house.
I got there in time to see TJ, which I wasn't. I didn't even know TJ. I knew TJ's in Curl, but I didn't know they did their own solo project, which is. Fucking crazy good. Yeah.
So they just released a single. I want to fall in love again. Oh, I want to believe in love again. Girl, fake fan. No, I love them. I stand them so much. They're like and talking about community, like Curl, TJ, all of the people that were at that show, like those are my homies.
Yeah.
Like I love them so much, and it's just really cool that we all have the same mission, like community, and just like finding people to feel that would normally feel alone, like be like, oh no, come on baby, like we just want to give you hugs. I don't know, I just love them so much. But
that show was amazing, and I love shows where people come together like that. Like it's like, oh, like they're, you might know Curl, but if you show up to the show, you're gonna get some friends like over here from people that you didn't know. Like most of and that's me with like music in general, is that if I'm going to a show or a concert or something, I go, it's the easiest place for me to make connections with people, because we're both here to see this like musician or this music. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's something in common there already. Like we're already both here. Like we're in the same space, but creating that positive community like environment where like you want to get along with these people, and you do, and it's just fun. But like something about inspiring dance like with music is, I don't know why I've just been a fan. Like, have you seen like them do those? What is it called? Oh my God, they do them at Curfew Bar every Monday. What is it called? I'm gonna remember it later. But anyways, it's basically these DJ sets like on Monday nights, and it's Monday, and like it packs out, and it's just like a surprise DJ like every like week, and people are just dancing. And I'm like, it's an expression of like art where you're just like having a good time and not worried about like anything in general. So I like that. I've been liking music that inspires that a lot more.
I went to a not me forgetting stuff too. Dang, what is this called? Meet Me Underground.
Meet Me Underground. Yeah, Meet Me Underground is it. Yes, yeah. I'm like literally. I'm like, so funny. I always want to say midnight something.
I want to go
Meet Me Underground
so bad.
Yeah.
So I went with Dijon, Bass for Your Face. We went to some show. It was like something, and I had to go to work the next day. So I was kind of like, iffy about it already, and I'm really like that was just like my antisocial era. I have those different phases.
Yeah.
And so, but I went because like I love Dijon. I know we're gonna have a good time. So I went. I didn't drink. I didn't even like get intoxicated at all. And I danced the whole entire time. And that was so inspirational to me because it was just fun. Like it was just pure fun.
Yeah.
But no, I love dance music. I've always loved dance music. And with this like album, I guess I sound too professional with this album. But that was kind of like, that was the feeling of it. Like I was really just like at my house, because I recorded at my house. I was just at my house, probably annoying my neighbors, stacking harmonies, stomping, dancing around, like, and that's kind of what I want to like capture with like my shows. I want people to move. I want them to get weird. I want them to get sexy, and I want them to realize that they're golden. That's like always been my goal. And so I'm so happy you had a good time.
No, yeah, it was super fun. I kind of like, I've never seen you perform live, so this is all new to me. But then seeing like there's a whole bit, and I even saw, I think you were working on like the visual stuff, like a few like days before you posted on your story, and I'm like, wait, did they do visuals too? And like seeing it, like everything that just come together, and again, I'm seeing this for the first time. I've listened to the music and I'm like, I'm a fan, especially
thank you.
Especially like the newer stuff. I was like, that's literally where my head's at. And I'm like, so I just like, it's nice to be able to feel music, you know what I mean? Like, and then just have there's no wrong way to dance for me. So I'm like, I have to believe that because I'm not a good dancer. So I tell myself that, but I'm like, yeah, if the music is inspiring you to dance, like I'm pretty sure the artist is not going to care what you're doing. Like if you're, if I don't know, if I was an artist and like I was making music and it's having someone move over there all crazy, I'm like, that's wild.
So
like,
here's my thing, and I love Denton. This album is inspired by Denton.
Okay.
At the Lady Gaga show, I was doing Poker Face, and they were moshing. And just the other day, went to a house show, got pushed into the mosh pit. Oof. Had a really surprisingly, because I'm a scaredy cat. I honestly had a great time.
Yeah.
And I think that with Denton, I want people to mosh my way. Yeah. Which is just like getting groovy, shaking her ass, shaking them hips. Yeah. And just like having a good time. So I don't care what you do, baby. As long as you're moving. I hate doing shows and people are just looking at you.
Yeah, it is interesting.
It's so awkward for me because that's like my whole thing. And sometimes I really do get annoyed because I'm like, babes, like I'm dancing, dance. Like even if it's just a tap, I will take it. But I think dancing is just so liberating and so much. It's so fun,
and I think it's with what we're saying, it is just an expression of exactly what you're going through. That last like breakthrough, like this little like being restricted in like who you are. Like I feel like dance is. Once again, that's why like I dance with like whatever like feels right because it's that liberating feeling of like, oh, I'm just moving my body the way like it wants to move to whatever's like on, you know, which is what I started to interpret later in life. We're thinking about like moshing and stuff like that because I was always like one to be like, why are people moshing? Like I don't understand it, but it's literally the way to dance to that. It's like what they want to do to that.
Surprisingly, so yeah, and I wasn't in it. Like I wasn't in it. Yeah, but it was just like. It was just sweaty and just like people releasing. So it was just like the energy. Yeah. And I finally get it. Like that moment, I was just like, oh, okay. I get it.
It's a release. Like all that movement is that release part of like music, which is why like I really, I started being not even more understanding, but like starting to get more involved. Like I've never I've been in one mosh pit I think my whole life, and it was to a ska band. Period. It's just like I was like at my first Warped Tour, and I'm like, you know what? I've never been in one of these. I'm like, this seems like the safest one to do. Yeah. But yeah, like it's just like you're releasing your body to like the music and letting it see what it does, and just like have fun. But it goes back to that where. I don't know. Like I feel like before like really embracing that being able to dance or being able to move to music however you want to, you're always me, and it's coming from me personally. It's like I'm always, what are people like looking at me doing, or like this and that. And then once you get rid of like that thought and not second guess yourself on like what you want to do, like it's just again the word keeps coming back, but liberating. Just do what you want to do. Fuck it, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. And just then be free. And be free. And I feel like that's kind of where you're going with like this project, and it's definitely coming through. Lyrically, what are your like goals like for like the project? Like what was the inspiration behind that?
So overstimulation for me is something that I hate. Because when I start to feel a whole different kinds of ways, I just like am like, okay, it's time to go inside, lock the key. You might have to go out for work, but then that's it. And just eat. That's just me. And this past like era in my life, I love that word. My past era, I have been feeling so many different emotions. I felt like really high highs. Like I literally have a band now, which like is so cool. I've always wanted that my whole life. And so like really high things are happening. I'm like making strides, like falling in love, but then also like not falling in love and rejection and disappointment and losing friends and like all of these different things happening. And it was like with this music, it was like I would just go home and just be like, okay, this is how I feel today. And just get it out. And that way I wouldn't have to internalize everything. I've just always been like that. I always will tuck everything in until like I can't. And so I've been trying to not do that anymore and feel the feelings and like justify them. So like there's a couple of songs like Mad and there's a song called American Tragedy, which I'm really excited about, and it's like a rock song and I love it so much and I'm really excited.
I know you're about to go into it, but the fucking bass on American Tragedy is so sick. That clanky bass, I literally, when that song came on, I'm like, oh, this just took a shift. Like I'm ready for what's coming. So first of all, automatic fan.
When I made that song, I made it with Nimi, who is featured on Mad. I'm gonna name drop all of my friends, but it's because I love them. We made that song or he started with that beat, and the whole time he was like, you can do it, and I was like, I can't. Like I just was, and the thing was, we were literally having a conversation about how irritated I was with life and how mad I was, and he started it, and then he was like, oh, get on this, and I was like, I can't do it. And I was just going through a lot of like trauma, like, and I hate when people use that word, but I will be the first to overuse it. Yeah, I was just reliving some things, and he left, and I just recorded the fuck out of it, and that song actually came together pretty fast. It came together like a week, which is very short for me. Yeah. But I just had a lot to say that I had never said before, and that's one of my proudest things, because with this album, through every emotion, through every feeling, through every like times where I've just wanted to like not be, I was able to be and make something beautiful that I can like be able to like mosh. And now when you come to a show in Denton, bitch, you can actually mosh to something that's not poker face. So like that's kind of like lyrically, there's not a real set bass. It's just me being like, all right, let me just like tell you how I'm feeling today. Yeah. And
which goes, I think, goes more to that emotional honesty, that you're not just holding on to it. You know, you again just to let stuff out, to let you feel free about it. Because I feel like me, for a long time, I would villainize my emotions and really be like if I felt sad about something, I would make myself feel stupid. It's like, why do I feel sad about this right now? Instead of just feeling that emotion, letting it like happen, like, because I mean, you have to feel those feelings. I always laugh at the phrase. Yeah, I always laughed at the phrase, like, you have to feel those feelings, because it sounds so silly, but yeah, instead of just like either, you know, being upset that you feel that way, or trying to make yourself immediately not feel that way and just ignore it, or, you know, bury it or whatever, or even like feeling mad about stuff, I would just be like, try to be neutral about everything. And then when you couldn't hold on to it anymore, it would just burst out and not be the most like, not the most healthy way, and or it would manifest itself in like other stuff. And just being okay with feeling like the emotion. Like, I had a friend tell me once, and he was like, you know, it's not a bad thing, like, because I was feeling sad all the time, but I kept trying not to be, and it got to the point where I just couldn't hide it anymore. And a friend's like, you know, he's like, you know, it's okay to feel that way. He's like, feel it, like, take your time with it, feel that way. He's like, but let it go. He's like, hey, every one of these emotions is temporary. If you feel sad, that's temporary. If you feel mad, it's temporary. If you're happy, it's all temporary. It's your mission is to try to figure out what's making you happy and keep doing those things. What's making you sad, and avoid those things. Learn from them. Like, but you have to feel it all. Like, you can't pick and choose like those emotions. And it comes
back to intuition.
Yeah.
That is, and I'm the same way. Like, I will just be like, oh, you stupid bitch, you shouldn't feel like this. It's not gonna work. But it's really just like, okay, so this is the feeling that is just catered to me right now. Instead of just being like, send it back, even though you know you're going to get the same damn thing. Yeah. Why don't you just eat it? Have a good time. And that's kind of how a lot of the emotions that I had and was having, it was like, okay, let me write a song about it. Yeah. Because that's something that I love to do. That's something that I know is going to make me happy. And that's why, like, I'm just like so excited about like releasing it, even though it's like not... Girl, it's going through changes, but really, well, so right now, it's done. It's just, I'm a perfection. I told you, I'm a creative control freak. Yeah. So just trying to make it, because the thing for me, I think, is towards the end of an album, because I'm tired of it, I'll just like try to like do the final little touches and then just put it out. But this time, I want to make sure that like 2 years later, I'll be like, oh, this is mixed great. Sounds great, and I'm proud of it. And so that's just where it is right now. But I'm really excited because I feel like people are gonna be like, oh, like this is Zeke. Like I want people, and maybe this is like a little too artsy, whatever. But I want you, like when you hear an album, I want you to dance your ass off and then be like, oh, I just had the best night with Zeke. So, but we'll see. I'm really excited about it though.
Yeah. Do you ever? How hard is it for you to balance like figuring out the final touches to stuff and being able to put it out? Like, do you have certain markers that you have in place to be like, okay, this is done, or do you have to feel a certain way about it? Like, what tells you that something is finished?
So right now, especially, I usually have a checklist and I have like a board of like, this is the album title. This is what I really like about this mix. This is what I really hate about it. And then as soon as the sticky notes are kind of gone, that's when I think like, that's when I know.
Gotcha.
I think also it's definitely like a feel too. Like I'm such a nerd. I put everything in one track.
Okay.
And if I can listen to it without being like the whole time, because I'm super critical, then I'm good. And it has to be more than just once. It has to be more than twice. It has to be like I'm in the shower high as hell, just being like, oh, okay, this is cool.
This is cool.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way to do it. To put it all on one track and just like listen through it the entire project.
I'm an album baby. So like albums like Renaissance and Art Pop and When I Feel by Solange, it feels like a piece of work. It doesn't just feel like a playlist. And so for me, like I've always just been like, that's who I am. When people are like, you should release singles, I know that it's like the best way to release music, but I don't like that because I I love releasing the singles before, but when you listen to the album, I want you to be able to listen to it front to back and just be like, oh shit.
So that's like the approach of like you're releasing singles, but not writing music as a single. Like you're writing as a whole. Yeah, like an album.
Yeah. Like Open Up for me was always going to be the main single. As soon as it was done, I finished that song not even long ago, but I knew that was what I was trying to say. This is me opening up, and I just want to let it all free. I already knew, like, from the beginning. Mad is just something, like, I was just like, oh, this is funny. I wrote this song on accident, and then one of my friends jumped on it, and I was like, oh, this is so sick, and I want to release this on my birthday. But, like, it's still a part of, like, it's still just a puzzle piece. Yeah.
So that is interesting, and you're right. So I've had that conversation a few different times, and I feel like very much on paper, the singles release strategy works. And it's like, it's a way for you to keep putting out music. It's a way for you to stay relevant throughout the year. You always have something to put out and you can work these things through. But the musician in me is like, I love entire projects together. And especially if you have the time to put into to work at something as a whole, as a collective. That's the way I enjoy listening to music the most overall, is an entire album all at once. Like that's why when stuff releases, like I like to sit down and be able to have the time to listen to every song in the order it's supposed to go. Not only like because sometimes the songs like go into each other, but like sometimes because like I want to know how that story of that album should be told through. That's why I absolutely hate when like Spotify randomly throws my shit on shuffle and I'm like listening to an album for the first time and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
So I used to have, this is my issue with Spotify. Can I rant for like 3 seconds?
Go for it.
Okay, so I used to be an Apple Music girly. Like, had Apple Music when it first came out. I love Apple Music. I felt like I was able to navigate through albums way better. With Spotify, I hate how your music is sorted because it's not alphabetical order. It's not like all of the albums or the artists, or like you have to do this whole extra thing. Babes, give us categories. Give us alphabetical, give us like an option to where we can just like easily go to the album that we want to listen to instead of like flipping. And it's probably like an easier way, but also Apple Music didn't make me have to do all that. It was just there.
I don't like that. There's not a thing for EPs. Like EPs automatically go into your singles, and I'm like, that's so confusing. And
I do love Spotify though, so put me on your playlist. Yeah. But it was a hard transition for me to go to Spotify from Apple Music.
Yeah, I had them both for some reason at some point in time. But yeah, I just picked one and stuck with it. But yeah, I think that category like thing is a little weird, where it's like they release stuff like by popularity, but then it's like it doesn't give you the option to switch up like how you want to see.
I think it's an adjustment. I always was kind of like an uncle about Spotify for a little bit, and so I was just like, okay, this is kind of where music is right now. So let me like not be a hater and just try to figure out why. So I get it. Yeah. I like Spotify. I like the little visualizer things. It's cute. Just it's harder to listen to albums that way, and that's why. I feel like that's why it's so easy to do singles and like kind of like preferred to do singles, but it's just not fun.
Well, I saw like, so there's a band, actually this band, it's a band called Sleep Token. Period. And the way that they release, they've done it twice now, their last two releases. I think they nailed it on the most recent one, but the last album they released actually it wasn't the one before. They released one song every 2 weeks, but they did the entire album. So I like that I got to hear everything, but like when the album came out, you got the last song. So it was like you waited all this time and you got everything before the album release. So it kind of I like that I got to hear everything, but it kind of didn't get it for me. Now this release that they released, I think it was one song every 2 weeks for like 4 weeks, and then they let those simmer. And then they waited like another month and a half because they started, I think, in January. And they waited like till like March. They released one more. The first 4 they released were in order. The 5th one was not. It was like it skipped the track. So when you heard the album, it still felt like listening to a complete set in a new, different way because they weren't the exact order of everything, and you still had over half an album to listen to. But it definitely kept the anticipation up, like and stuff. But there's interesting ways to do it, but I do like. I don't know. I struggle with it. Like I'm thinking, like if I were still writing music at this point in time, because I love the releasing singles satisfies my need to like write something and put it out, and that instant gratification of stuff. But I also enjoy like releasing something all together as once because it's an entire like work, you know. So it feels more like an actual like work of art for me rather than like I wrote a song and then put it out. I mean, I like that you can do that. And I like that again with technology and stuff, like we were talking earlier, that you can do that in the span of like a day if you wanted to really like write a song. You could literally
record a song at 6 o'clock in the morning and at 3 it's on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere.
Again, like I find that so cool. Yeah. But yeah, I think it just depends on what you're trying to go for.
So like, okay, I've always had a thing where it's like I really could just do singles, and it's because I understand the appeal. Like I do feel like yes, people have shorter attention spans, and I get that. And so I don't know if I should like say this, but
talk your shit.
So I'm trying to figure out how to do an album cycle that still feels like singles.
Okay.
So like the idea that I have, and this is not final, so don't like try to like hold me on the shit. But like I want to like, that's why I also like doing remixes too, because then you can re-release the song, but just like in different, like a different thing. Yeah. And just do like a video or like a lyric video for like, not every song, babes, but like for different things like later on in the month. So it kind of like keeps it. Because like for me, like even like with like albums that I want to listen to, I don't listen to the singles beforehand unless like it's on the radio or something. Like with Janelle Monáe, I'm not gonna say that I didn't listen to the single, but I listened to it with the intent of let's just see what it sounds like, and then we'll push it away. Like it wasn't one of those where I just like overplayed it or anything. I waited until I could listen to the album which this great album, Age of Pleasure, so good. But so I could sit in it and simmer in it. And so I kind of know what I'm getting myself into. But it's not like I already know. Because I think that that's the thing for me, is that if I listen to if I listen to two singles and they like kind of sound the exact same, I'm less excited.
Okay. I take that approach with like movies and like movie trailers. Like if it's a movie I want to see, I'll watch like the first one, which has the least amount of information. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I do not want to see anything else. And that's why like I used to like always like follow a page and be like, oh, this actor just got added to this or this and that. I'm like, I would rather not know, and it'd be such a fucking surprise. Yeah. Because I forgot what movie I saw recently, but like the biggest twist was in the trailer, and I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, what the shit? Like, I go, and I get like they're trying to get more people to come out to see it, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, they just, that moment sucked, like in the movie, because like everybody knew it was coming, you know?
Yeah.
But with singles and off of an album, it just depends on who I'm like looking for. Because if it's like there's a band just recently hadn't put out anything in years, and they released a single for their album coming out in October, and I was just like, I've been listening to it nonstop, but but I do get that of like wanting it. That's why I didn't like when they released that whole album in singles, because like when the album came out, like it was like, it's one last song, but I think the right balance of it, like enough to be interested, but not enough to give the entire album away, which it didn't, because like it's still like when, at least for me personally, like listening to the album, I'm like, okay, cool, I didn't get all the information up front. Like it still had plenty new for me. Yeah. But it is differently, like it definitely every case is different, and it just depends on what are you gonna like the best.
Yeah. And that's also another thing that I think, so like there's a lot of pressure for people like artists to like release singles, but also art, no one can tell you what to do with your own art. And I had to learn that, because I definitely was in the beginning of like what I was trying to do. I was like, the pressure, especially with like TikTok and stuff, is like to keep pushing and like do it in a different way. And so like I kind of had to like figure out how I can do it without it not feeling like a job. Because that's, for me, is when I feel the most burnt out, like doing promotion and like that whole thing of like making TikToks and trying to make dances and trying to make challenges. I was trying to keep up with that. Yeah. But then I just kind of realized like, oh no, that's not what I want to do. And I shouldn't force myself to do it.
You're not able to keep up with it when it's something that you do not like doing.
So like, I don't hate content creation, but I like my own, like I don't have a schedule. I don't do all that. That's annoying. And so it's really just whatever you want to do. And I'm not knocking anyone that does that. It's just that art should literally be a personal experience, not just something that you're doing to get the most views or to get the most monies or get the most monies.
I think when you treat content creation as just an extension of your art is the when like it works the best, especially like for musicians, as far as like what I've seen. And then you can throw in like, again, like the trendy stuff that comes up like every now and then, but if that can't be the main source of whatever your content building you're doing, like if you treat, like I've seen, you know, musicians who do like breakdowns of their equipment or playthroughs of their stuff, or just like acapella versions of like their songs, or like, you know, for you who produce, you could do like, oh, this is how we produce this beat, you know, this is like what I made first, blah, blah, stuff like that. Things that you like, whatever you find interesting, whatever I find myself like watching, I'm like, okay, that's the stuff I'm gonna gear towards. Like, so that's one thing I've been struggling. So with Noise Rot, we started it a while back, and I've been like kind of doing content creation, but I haven't really zoned in on till lately. And I haven't started a TikTok because of that fear. I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to post like really often on it, so I want to make it as smooth as possible. So I mean, but the thing is, I with the podcast itself, like just I'm already doing this, and I cut clips anyways. I can get a minimum of 2 or 3 clips per podcast, but maybe like 5. So that's already 5 days worth of stuff, just this. And then there's we do shows, so there's like ad promotion, so there's like little small stuff. And then now we're working on, I want to add more of our personalities into like the content build. So I'm like, we all have different music tastes. How about we just start sharing like our own personal music that we like to enjoy, and just talk about that. And just little things that how to make it actually something fun, not just work. Because there's obviously like Noise Ride is a business, so there's stuff, we have shows coming up that we have to promote and do. So those are like the things that we have to make. But also, it feels good making stuff to help promote bands and stuff that you actually enjoy. Like, so we're booking bands that we like. So I get to make little bits of content for them to share, so more people come out to see them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of rewarding in that fact. But I also want to do stuff that makes me have fun. That's why like the podcast is, for me, is like I enjoy doing this. Like I go, dude, I get, dude, I get to. I mean, I get to talk to people all the time. You know, like it's interesting people who are doing cool shit. Like, you know, I get to have that experience. So this alone is already like, you know, fulfilling me. So I'm cool.
I realized that like content for me, so there was like an era where I was just like, oh, I gotta push it hard. And those were like the times where it was just like, the people were like, we don't really care for this at all. And it's like, okay, so like I think that also like sometimes it'll translate, and that's why like TikTok for me, I don't really do TikTok, but I think it's just because the algorithm is like really hard. So like sometimes I'll just do something with like a weird filter where I pick who I like, and it's like little, what is this thing called, brackets.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And I'll do that. It'll get like thousands of views, and I'm like, I'm literally in my bed with a bonnet on. But I'm really like, I really love graphics. Like I was a graphic. Well, I guess I am a graphic designer, but like that's what I wanted to go to school for. And so like Instagram is fun for me because I get to just literally edit pictures. Yeah. Even though now they're trying to like get away from that, which whatever, girl. But like it's easier for me to just get graphics done and put them on Instagram. I don't know. It's just all about what you choose, really.
That's what you choose. And I don't plan to particularly cater to the TikTok like trend. I just want to. It just needs to be. My only goal for TikTok is to be consistent in posting, and that just is a standard not for TikTok. It's a standard for me across all like boards with like Noise Rod and our like companies. Like I just want to be able to post very frequently. So I'm finding ways to make it easy for myself. So like I've been, you know, like not batch posting, but like recording like 5 different videos in like the same day, like little snippets, and then just like, okay, I'll edit them throughout the week and then post them. Like it's not a big deal. Like making everything so it's not a constant pressure where I feel like, oh, I gotta post them. Yeah. That's why like if I create a bunch of different clips, like if I don't have an idea today to do, then okay, I have a clip that we can post up. Like post that up. You know, it's easy, but yeah, it's just I think for an artist it is. If when you treat it as like again an extension of your art, like you make some really cool things to add on to it. And you know there's people who've created like art pieces out of like their music, you know, like an actual tangible like art piece, or I have a friend who does like abstract art pieces for like music singles, and just like there's different ways, but that's like what they find interesting. You know what I mean? It's whatever you find interesting in doing, and just find a way to work that into building something for you. Because at the end of the day, it's you want to bring more people to listen to your music or listen to, or you know, be into your art, not just come for whatever trend you're doing. You know what I mean? That's not what you want. That's why it's not fun, because like I mean, I just brought this up last podcast, but there's some artists like on TikTok that get famous for doing some sort of trend or doing covers and not with their stuff, and it's hard to bring them back to be like, oh, also I do this, and I'm like, no one gives a shit about this, because you know they care that you do this trick that you've been talking about the whole time, like do that, and it's very tricky, and it feels like you have to do it these days, but you might as well do it in a way that's fun, that continues to be fun, because that's what's gonna let you keep doing it. Yeah, but man, I think the fact that you do pretty much everything for Zeke Forever is kind of awesome. Like that, the production, like the photos for like the new like era stuff like that. You did those, right?
It's a red sheet that I got from Amazon. I thumbtacked it on top of the wall, and I just used my phone.
That was your phone?
Yeah.
See, but those look cool. You know what I mean? Like those look awesome, and like it's. Again, if it looks great, no one's gonna care what the process was. You know what I mean? Or are they gonna care more because like you're telling me now, like, oh, that's just took this. I'm like, that's awesome. It's like, but it depends on what you can do with what the tools that you have. You know,
that's why. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No,
off,
go for it.
But like, I've been doing this since I was a teenager. Like, I remember putting sheets up in front of my window and like using my iPod Touch to take these terrible pictures and using pic art to like make track lists. Like I was born for this, babes. Not to be like annoying, but like that's what's fun is doing the visuals and like making CD covers and like stuff like that. So it again, like I've just been reminding myself a lot lately that art does not have like rules.
It doesn't.
As much as we would love to be like, this is this to get success, at the end of the day, art shouldn't be about like, I mean, I guess it could be about success, but it really should just be about like the fun that you're having and the fact that, or like, at least for me, the way that I am able to express myself in ways that I wouldn't be able to without, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want, I mean, you can do art to become successful and there's like plans that you could follow, but some of the biggest artists have come from places of like, you're not supposed to do that. And then now that they're successful at it, people are like, oh yeah, I love that all the time.
Can you teach me how to do it?
Yeah, but it started off with people being like, that is stupid, or that is like, it's not going to work. And it just, if you want to do it that way, then fucking do it that way. Like, don't care what somebody's telling you is not right. Because like, if it feels right to you, then do it. Like, even if you don't find whatever audience you want with that, you are going to be satisfied with that, which will inspire you to keep trying and keep doing new things, which is what creativity needs. Like as an artist, that's what you need. You need to keep doing and innovating, because you see all these like sometimes like pop artists get like really popular and then realize like they don't even like their music that they're making because they got structured into like a cookie cutter. Man. And then you see them like go off and like write like these weird albums and people are like, why are you doing this? Like this was working. And it's like, because this wasn't fun. You know, this is the shit that I wanted to do, you know, or people that break out from acting and do something completely fucking different. Like, or you know, become, I don't know. I still remember that dude from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody owns a brewery, you know, now like, you know, he didn't hate that shit.
Wait.
Yeah. Not the Riverdale one, the other one.
But do you know that he's in a Hulu movie and it was so bad? Well,
which Hulu movie?
It's something, I don't know what, Kroll something.
I don't know. Wait, which one?
He's a boxer. And so I watched it for like the first 6 minutes and I was like, I am good. I am good. But yeah, I think that's what, like, just knowing that gives me less anxiety. Because I used to be really anxious about like, oh, I want, and I think it was just keeping up with like the Jones, like basically, because like everyone in the Dallas scene, even the Denton scene, like everyone's just doing cool shit, and so like sometimes it is very hard to be like, oh, like you kind of have to. I guess it's like a lot of pressure sometimes to be like, oh, I have to do this or I have to start doing this because this person is getting success. But I think that once. And this is just like for me too, like as long as I'm having fun, that's success. Yeah. As long as like, I don't know, like I'm really proud of like the music that I make. It makes me like a fucking kid, which is so funny. But that is success to me. Now, I hope that like I'm able to like do more shows and like do like get a bigger audience, but that's not like the goal. The goal is just to be weird and be sexy and dance.
Nice. I like that. The goal is to be sexy and dance. I like that. That's gonna be the tagline for this podcast. But no, I think you're doing amazing work overall. Now that I know like how much involvement you're in, which makes me even like more excited about it. But do you have a release? You don't have a release date yet, right? Because it's kind of.
So we're taking after, I don't know when this is gonna be out, but I'm doing a show on Club Dada on the 25th. It's fine if it's not, but. After this, I know. It's like, but after that show, we're taking a break, and that break for me is to finalize and like be able to just sit there and focus on that. My goal is either late September, early October.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we will just let us know, send us stuff, and we'll be sharing the crap out of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm excited. I've listened to a sample of it, and it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to what you're gonna bring to it. But thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. This is so sick. I feel so official now.
But thank you for coming by. This has been episode 81 with Zeke Forever. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time.
Woo!
me instead.